How was like 2020 overall for you? Because, it was kind of hard for a lot of people to find fights. You managed to have, one of them, but
Yeah.
just how was the year overall for you?
Uh, Oddly good.
That's
Um,
good.
we, yeah. Like there's uncertainty. We had opened the gym, like I said, we opened Striking Institute, which is mostly a striking based gym, but we do some MMA stuff there, obviously, and whatnot. But we opened in March, got shut down 2 weeks later, and it was just like, well, and we should have known something was up because a bunch of our equipment had been delayed because it was coming from China,
Right.
and the warehouses were shut down,
Yeah.
before it hit here. So anyway, uh, but it was okay actually. I got some really good training in. I had a jiu-jitsu gym in town, M Theory, under Ishmael Bentley. Had a really awesome pod, kind of, because that first fight I fought in July,
Yeah.
and it was still like people weren't quite sure what was going on. So we had like a really awesome little group that just train together every day, and it's it's been a good year, and our gym is still doing okay, and our team is getting active now. So uh it was like a great transition year for me, actually.
Yeah,
So
that's
and then this opportunity came up, right? So I'm
definitely.
excited.
Yeah, very awesome. Congratulations on, everything, all the good vibes and
Thank
energy.
you.
Is it your first gym that you've opened?
Yeah, it's the first gym that I've owned. I managed a gym, like a personal training
Hmm.
studio in Minneapolis several years ago, but it's the first one that I've owned. Yeah.
Very cool. Something I imagine you had kind of been wanting to do for a little bit, or was it just a random like, I should open my own gym?
Yeah, well, I always knew that would be the goal one day,
Hmm.
and it's something I wanted to do before I was done fighting,
Hmm.
at least while I still had some time left to kind of like parlay it into that. But yeah, it was like kind of the perfect space came up. And it's silly things like not having to build out for showers and stuff. But I was like, well, we got to jump on this.
Yeah.
So we
A
jumped
little
on it.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. The stuff you don't maybe think of initially. You're like, oh, this would be a lot more convenient if that was there already, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's been fun, like when it's your own spot, you're like, oh, let's try this and throw it on the wall, see if it sticks.
Yeah.
See if people like it. Okay. So it gives you a bit of a creative outlet too, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. I bet it's kind of like house shopping or something like that, right? Kind of feels very
A
personal
little
for
bit,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, awesome stuff
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
And I mean, you mentioned, of course, the opportunity that came up with the PFL. I mean, did you ever expect, something like this to happen, especially with PFL is doing things very uniquely? I mean, did you see this coming?
Mm-hmm. You know, I had been asked about it a couple of years ago, like before they even started, and it's my belief that if you're going to move up in weight, it has to be slow. Otherwise it's not the right kind of weight. Like your body's just not as strong.
Hmm.
And at that time I had just decided to move up from 35 to 45. So I was like, I think that's too big right now. Now, I did not realize that the grand prize was $1 million when
Right.
they had asked me about it though. so
Helps.
so yeah, I'm not super surprised, but I feel 100% ready for it now, and it just came at the perfect time.
Yeah, definitely. It's very just an overall unique thing that they're doing, obviously, and the
Yeah.
focusing on the lightweight division too, for the women,
Hmm.
really the first people to give it serious
Yeah.
love and shine. So just is that kind of more enticing too? Of course, not cutting weight really helps, but you know, helping women stand out that, get a spotlight on them that maybe they don't normally get. That's always great to be a part of something like that, I imagine.
Absolutely. And always that's just something that's really kind of rough about the women's division is, and I've talked to people about this, like prior to PFL, all the money stopped at 145. And it wasn't that long ago that all the money stopped at 135.
Yeah.
And if you think about like the top 145 are maybe making $1 million a fight or several hundred thousand. And then prior to this, the top 155 making a few grand.
Hmm.
Like of course, everybody that can cut is going to cut.
Mhm.
And then if you're walking anywhere near 145, you're going to be 20 pounds light. So I think it's really important that they have some of these divisions so that it doesn't just help the women's 155. This helps women always be able to compete closer to their natural class because they're actual options. We don't have a heavyweight like the guys where you can just train hard and see what your body does. So I think it'll help with things like career longevity and all sorts of things. I think there'll be a big ripple effect of this.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And, it is funny to mention kind of the heavyweight thing. And I was thinking about it just last week, like as we were watching, Francis and Stipe too, like, man, it really is insane that that division has that 60-pound gap where you can just weigh whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like that's such a wild thing when you really think about it. So
it is. And it's so interesting too, like, for the guys that could make 205, that are walking 230 or less, right?
Yeah.
Does their style fit heavyweight better? Or does their style fit,
Yeah.
It's a neat thing. We've been talking about this a lot lately, is how weight class affects styles. And it's just an interesting thing to watch, I think.
There's no doubt about that. And just speaking of styles too, you have a very fun and exciting style. I think that is fair to say. And having had all the experience that you've gained in the sport, and you fought really about everybody that you possibly can. When you go into this tournament and you kind of assess all the people that the PFL has brought in, like, is there not an edge of cockiness, but maybe more confidence of being like, all right, I know that, I have maybe the experience edge over most of these people. Cindy, also, who you're going to be fighting, is very experienced as well, like yourself.
Yes.
But how do you assess all these people who are kind of, they're newer to the game than you are? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think the experience part is really important, and it's sometimes in like more subtle ways than you might think. It's kind of seeing patterns that maybe aren't visible to you when you haven't had 10 fights yet. And just having been in a lot of places, experienced a lot of different things, there's not much that rattles me these days. So I'm super excited about it. And I think experience, not just in fighting, it matters in general, but I think in tournaments it matters even more so.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. Like, maybe it might feel like a lot of pressure for some people, but having been done everything for the most part, like you have, you feeling any of that at all?
Man, not really, or not in a negative sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel confident enough that if somebody comes in there and beats me, it's because she's gonna be awesome. It's because she's amazing. It's not because I'm going to not perform at my best.
Right.
And that's the uncertainty that you sort of have to embrace when you walk in a fight. You can walk in and break your ankle.
Yeah.
Stuff happens. But I don't feel any extra pressure because I know what I can and will do. And that's already with me.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe more of a motivating pressure kind of than.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, of course, it's a big opportunity, but yeah, it doesn't feel overly heavy.
Yeah, well, that is perfect. Then sounds like the way you would want it, right? So.
Right, exactly.
As I mentioned too, going in, taking on Cindy, who you were supposed to fight in Invicta, right? I mean, you had
good memory. Yes, yeah. I think like 2013 or 14 or something. Yeah. It was a long time ago
when things were getting started up. So surely you obviously are familiar with her just from her being around and being maybe her matchmaker at a point at the time, but you've had time to study.
I don't remember if I did. Yeah, but it was like around. I don't remember if she fought. No, she did.
Yeah,
she fought. I think one time when I had just started matchmaking there. Actually,
there we go.
Yeah.
Look at that, full circle here then. So, having maybe a better look at her in particular here. a lot of people probably view this matchup as striker versus grappler because, the strengths, we can see what they are. Do you feel that this fight is as simple as, keeping it on the feet, just with what all you know about Cindy?
I think there have been many people who have gone into fights with her based off of what they've seen on tape, and I don't even want to say underestimated her, but maybe incorrectly assessed her strengths. And and I think that's been to their demise. So I think it's more complicated than a lot of people are thinking when they just look at one fight. You got to look at them all, right.
Yeah, definitely. And having now you're fighting her, and it's somebody who you were supposed to fight, previously in your career, like I said, is that kind of nice too, to be like, hey, it's
Yeah,
not one of those things where I guess we'll never know. We get to find out.
exactly. No, exactly. I'm excited about that because I kind of hate that when it's open-ended like that.
Right.
Because you have these ideas about what you can do in a situation, how you can solve the puzzle, and then you don't get to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of a letdown. So it's fun to like pick that storyline back up.
Yeah, and especially when you look at, that time when you were supposed to fight, and then where you're doing it now, like kind of crazy, right? The roller coaster, you see it in full effect this way, I think.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Going from those early Invicta days and then to potentially winning $1 million, amazing. So very cool stuff.
Yeah, quite different, right? Yeah. It's funny.
And also, in the tournament, have to mention, Kayla Harrison, who's the champion, the former champion, has won the tournament before, and just fought in Invicta in her last fight, and she's kind of the big buzz of the PFL lightweight division, obviously. Just having been around the sport and been a great mind yourself, what did you think of her debut in Invicta? And I mean, really, what she's been able to do so far in MMA, making her transition from judo.
Well, she's a great athlete, and I think that shows. But there's also a difference between athletics and fighting.
Yeah, no, very true. And I assume that, not to overlook Cindy, obviously, but is it kind of, you want to beat that person because all the hype's around them? Is that kind of the goal, aside from winning the whole thing, but love getting that challenge of facing somebody like her, who the big fish in a way everyone's treating her as?
It's a fight I would like, but there are other fights that I would like just as much. That doesn't actually stand out to me, to be honest. It's just another one. It's just another fighter in the tournament.
Yeah. Tournament style, you mentioned it a little bit already. You've had experience in tournaments before, aside from the people who have already competed in this PFL tournament. One of the few to have tournament experience. Obviously, different tournament format, a very, very unique style that PFL is doing. Aside from like maybe feeling the edge that it could give you, having had that experience in tournaments before, just how do you feel about this system, I guess, and what your previous experience can bring you into this style?
I really like the point system as a way of kind of deciding who moves on. I think the way it's set up encourages people to go for a finish, which is excellent, what they're always trying to do in MMA anyway. But also it like makes it a little bit more balanced. Like somebody comes in, maybe has an off day, no big deal if they knock it out the park, and their next one they very well may still move on. Same with if somebody gets lucky and then doesn't do well, they may not. So it's probably a little bit more representative of people's abilities. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. And I like that the way it's spaced out. This is like kind of a, you'd think it'd be a small thing, but being able to plan so far in advance is really nice. Especially owning our own gym and stuff now, where somebody's got to cover, we're doing a long quarantine too. PFL's having us locked down for like 17 days.
Oh, wow.
So, which makes sense,
Right.
like you can't be out there getting COVID. So,
No,
but,
you cannot.
right. So, yeah, I think it's a really cool thing. I like that they're evenly spaced out. I know in my career, when I've had fights back to back to back, I feel best.
Mhm.
So I think it's probably a way to help fighters shine, really, because you'll see the best of them when they're active like that.
Yeah. Is that kind of, it might be a dumb question, but like the biggest luxury of tournaments is just being able to see everything in front of you. Like that's
Yep.
just something that it shouldn't be that unique in sports, because every other sport really does tournaments, and MMA kind of recently starting to get really back into them. Everybody except for the UFC is starting to do them again. So is that probably the biggest luxury for you?
Yeah, in a weird way, because you even see this anytime you're doing single fights, like something pops up or somebody pulls out or whatever, where having this opportunity to just sort of, like, when it is, it's not like some other fight's going to pop up in the meantime and you got to decide if you want to take that on 2 weeks or something, like, so it's a cool thing. It gives you an opportunity to plan in a way that, man, you don't often get in fighting.
Yeah, seriously. It's funny too, mentioning like the fact of people who could drop out. It's like, oh, well, that would be the case where you don't know. But generally, these promotions have been good enough to have like reserve people. So you're like, all right, I'll be one of them. At least, have an idea. So
yeah,
works out.
Yeah, no, I would bet they have some people on the back burner just in case. But the cool thing about having such a long, like, showing up so early is that I would be amazed if somebody dropped after that point. So at least, I don't know. Stranger things have happened, so I shouldn't say that. I'm like jinxing it, but
yeah.
But I suppose people can get hurt in training anytime, but
knock on wood.
Right.
That'll be good.
But in theory, it should cut down on that a lot, I would think.
Definitely. So yeah, I know maybe we shouldn't have spoken about that. I was hoping it all turns
I know, right? We're asking for it.
I know. Don't tempt the MMA gods if we've learned anything. What do you think about Miesha returning?
I'm happy for her. I think one of her best attributes is she has like unwavering self-belief, man. And I am excited to watch her fight again.
Yeah, so am I. She's always put on very entertaining fights. And when somebody does return, a former champion like that, returns after so much time. I mean, the best comparison, I guess, could be GSP and Dominic Cruz, who, both very unique and exceptional athletes, but came back and wowed us all. She's got the possibility of doing that as well. So it's hard not to be intrigued, so.
Well, and she was in that role with one, and then she's a parent now. She's in a different relationship now. Like her life, I think, has changed quite a bit. So yeah, I'm excited to see her. I'm excited to see how she looks in July.
Yeah, gonna be very, very fun, exciting. She always makes things fun and exciting. So, but as for more Invicta stuff, Kaitlin, very curious about what you think about. You mentioned the promotion itself was kind of the catalyst for things for women in a really big way, obviously, but also the catalyst for open scoring, which I just want to get your thoughts on open scoring, which I love it. I wish more people would start doing this, and hopefully they do, but very cool thing. I mean, just what are your general thoughts on open scoring and the fact that Invicta started with it?
That's not surprising. I think it's really great for a few reasons. There's so much debate over the scoring in MMA anyway. Like what matters more, control or damage, or how are the judges seeing this? And I think when it pops right up, it sort of has a way of holding them more accountable. And I think all judges, I'm not saying they're not, but I think they're all judging to the best of their ability. But I think it's a conversation starter. Yeah. you know, and I spoke to Eric Cowell a little bit after my last fight, and just discussing with him some of the differences maybe from not having a crowd there and what they can hear. And you sort of take for granted when you're in a gym a lot, you know what it looks like when a shot lands hard versus it doesn't land that hard. But maybe if you're judging and you haven't spent a lot of time in the gym, you need to hear it for you to understand that. So it's just that combined with the empty arenas has been so fascinating, because I think it's giving us a ton of transparency in the judging, and I think probably helping the judges even assess themselves on, okay, why did I choose this? What are people saying about it? And then of course, like as a fighter, if you know it, there isn't another sport where, apart from combat sports, is there, where you just like, I don't know the score going in. I guess we'll figure it out. I don't know what they're seeing. So strategically, it's huge. And I know there's been some concern that people will get ahead and coast, but I think it's probably more likely that people are down to are really going to go for it.
Right.
And I'm with you. I think it's all good, and it's kind of bizarre that we haven't been doing this all along.
Yeah, I think that is the best point you bring up there, is that everyone else knows what's going on. Like every other sport's like, hey guys, we kind of need to, push ahead and make a comeback here.
Yeah.
Just instead of being in the dark, like everybody has been for really the whole time here. And yeah, what your last two fights, at least your last fight had it, right? So
my last one, I don't remember if the one before did.
Yeah, I don't.
I kind of leave it to my corner, right. I don't like to be super distracted with it. But the other thing it's going to do is expose kind of bad coaches, which I also think is great.
Yeah.
Because fighters will now have feedback about, can their coach adjust when things aren't going well? Because they'll know for sure things need to change.
Right.
Can this person help them with that? And I think that'll be a rather uncomfortable thing to talk about, but also a hidden benefit.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that, because you don't have to know. That's the thing that's kind of cool about it too, is that it is up to the corner to tell you. So yeah, wow, that's a very interesting thought now that you bring it up. So we'll see how that does play out indeed.
Right.
Now I'm stuck on that. But that's what we love. We love that. So
yeah, but it should be. I think it'll be really interesting. I hope more commissions allow it.
I know.
And start doing it.
I know. I think it's just a matter of time, right? Like maybe it won't be a big thing, but other people will jump on and try. I mean, some commissions. I know LFA's been doing the thing with having some media people do, I don't know what you call it, dark scoring, but scoring as if they were judges, and then they'll talk to the judges and do like a discussion, like talking about why they scored this way.
That's I think what Eric did.
Yeah, he did do
that. From my MMA News.
Shout out to Eric. Yeah, he was very excited when I said I booked you. So, they're thinking of things, which is good, especially after, some things have been rougher with decisions lately, which you would think over time it would get better, but still all over the place.
Yeah, it's interesting in amateur Muay Thai, they've started sometimes using 5 judges, which would be fascinating. I don't know that would change anything, but it would change like one person maybe being able to throw something off.
Yeah.
But then you could also have unlimited judges, and then we're just turning fights into a democracy at a certain point, I suppose. So.
I know. I've seen the argument too of which seems quite crazy, but where people have said, all right, let's do fan scoring to decide it. Then we can get an unlimited amount.
Yeah, who's got more friends? That's how that's gonna go.
I don't know if that's the solution there. So, there's it's an ongoing topic, right? We could go on about forever, but just other rule related things, after having seen the Sterling and Jan outcome with the knee controversy and all of that, I mean, where do you kind of stand on that? Do you think that grounded knees and that kind of stuff. Obviously been okay over there with, Ryzen, Pride,
Mhm.
many of the promotions over in Asia. But just how do you feel about, those kind of limitations that I really like having grounded strikes on the ground, specifically for the
Mhm.
reason that, one, it's realistic to be able to do that in a fight
Yep.
scenario. And then two,
100%.
it allows you to, it helps. You have to think about more, and I guess it's just the realism thing. But for example, I always go back to this is, one of the main things, Miyu Yamamoto, who, fantastic atomweight fighter over there, one of her main defenses to like getting out of arm bars is, kicking her opponents in the head, because you can do that. So like,
Mhm.
I just like the versatility in that,
Yeah.
and that it's realistic to be able to do that in a fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I always am like sort of amused by the things that we've decided can be legal and the
Yeah.
things that like can't, that don't make any damn sense. Like you can just shin somebody right in the dome, but you can't do a 12-6 elbow.
Right.
Like that's ridiculous to me. And same with the grounded strikes. Like I highly doubt you're getting any more power than you are on a head kick.
Yeah.
And like having your head bounce off the canvas hurts, but if your head's on the canvas,
And there's no
like you
bounce.
don't, yeah, like now your brain's not snapping back. Like you
Right.
might get, you know, I think it's just the aesthetic of it that people are afraid of,
Mm-hmm.
or having like a weird emotional reaction. It's fighting.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
That's what happens.
yeah, I'm with you. I think it takes out a part of it that would be nice if it was just allowed. But I think it just looks so brutal. I think it's just the aesthetic of it,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, no, I think that's got to be it too. And it's kind of the same thing with the 12-6 elbows, which that's the silliest one. I think everyone will agree that that's a ridiculous thing that's not allowed. But because of the aesthetic, like, do you think it'll ever change over here?
I don't know. I hope so, because it is like people can just kind of flee a fight by touching the ground.
Right.
Like that. Is that what we're trying to do? Anybody want to watch that? I don't know.
See, then that argument though is don't hate the player, hate the game in that case, right? Like,
Oh yeah, I'm not faulting the fighter for doing it, but why do we have a rule set that encourages
right.
it?
Yeah, exactly. So
So,
yeah, that's its own thing as well. So
mhm.
oh, hey, you made it to the end. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you like this video and want to see more like it, give it a like and maybe subscribe if you haven't already. Until then, we'll see you next time.